know, just one little trick. Maybe you guys, some of you guys may know this, maybe you don't, but from time to time when you're, you know, putting an insert in with a feather or tail feather or whatever you want to call it, side pocket or something crazy, works well with chemistry. Once in a while, if you do the, you know, the old Camden and mortise trick, you gauge yourself wrong, you got a kind of a sloppy fit, right? It's kind of hard to, you don't go back and do it. So there's a little trick I learned here a couple years ago. You basically create yourself a little baggie. So you just kind of take some of the shrink wrap that you can buy at a craft store for baskets, you know, make baskets, hit it with a heat gun, it shrinks up. So just kind of bend that paper in half. So whether it's a feather or a fin, you know, draw a line about 1/8 inch bigger than what it is. And then with a little bit of a burning pin and a little bit of a straight edge to hold it down. That kind of creates a little bit of a bag there. So I heated it up just enough to kind of, you know, like I say, cauterize that paper around it. You know, kind of a snug fit, but then again, if you're going to, you know, insert that into anything, make sure that whatever you're inserting doesn't have a kind of a hook on it or a J-hook that, you know, would get caught if when you retract it. So once you got that baggie on there, simple as that. You know, that bag is absolutely skin tight all the way around that piece of wood. So now if your hole's kind of big and bulky, you know, mix up your epoxy. It kind of does a couple different things. You can fill the hole, build a muscle around there, or use the epoxy to fill your carbon wherever you you know, made a miscut or whatever it represents, you know. Whatever you think you need to do to fill the hole there, or to accommodate it. Here tonight, just kind of pack around there. Muscle release or some wrinkles in there, do whatever you need to do. So if it was whether fish or bird, you could, you know, accommodate it to your situation. So we'll let that set 15-20 minutes, let that epoxy set up, and we'll be able to pull that baggie right out of there and it won't be locked in there. So here's one I did last night just to kind of show them what it looks like. So you got a nice little firm pocket. So if you ever oversized your hole, that would be a way to take care of things.
So it doesn't adhere to that plastic at all?
Nope. Nope, fold right up. I mean, you cut the bag off, I mean, it's on kind of tight, but it doesn't stick to the baggie, so it works kind of nice. Okay, I guess there's a couple handouts here, guys. I don't know if you're interested in them, but one's on kind of burning the scales, how to make the tips, and the other one is kind of a painting diagram that I kind of, you know, used to accommodate what painting scheme I put on these sunfishes. But anyway,
Did you want that to dry a little bit, yeah?
yeah, I mean, it'll take 15-20 minutes for the epoxy. Don't pull it out just yet, but it'll just kind of show you what it looks like.
Play with the one.
But if you pull the other one out that does have the baggie on, you can kind of slip the hand out there. There's just a little progression. And the website that I go to quite frequently for tips and materials is at Ed Walecki. He's known as fishcarver.com on the internet. And that's where I buy some of my supplies. This Nikon wire that he sells, $5 or $6 gives you 5 to 10 feet, whatever it is. And if you're gonna make scales in your fish, I guess, you know, pluck a couple scales, if they're 1/4 inch wide, 3/8 of an inch wide, whatever they may be. You know, bend your wire roughly at a 90 degrees to the size and shape that you anticipate your scale to be. So, what I typically do, I bring it, but I use a, you know, just a needle nose pliers, bend it over the top, and I'll take another pliers, I squeeze the bejeebies out to get nice, sharp, tight corners. So once I get that, then I proceed and grab the ball peen hammer, and I draw that out. So I've got a couple here that are just at that point. So one's a little larger than the other, so you can see how much material that you can draw this wire out to. If you want to take a peek or pass around there, they're just Nipco pens. And one other thing to complete the connection, once you made your tip, you know, at Radio Shack they sell these terminal strips, this little connector terminal strips. They come in a, you know, pack. I think they're about 8 or 10 long. Snap off, you know, a set. You know, you can cut that plastic off with either a good sharp utility knife, or if you hit it with a heating iron, it warms up, so it'll be easier to cut. Snap a pair of those out of there, and if you have the Nipco's pens, there's a couple little copper leads on there. And that's all I use just to do the connection. Throw that around. So that's as simple as that gets. So you don't have to spend $30, $40 for these tips at you know, the woodworker show. Those don't seem to work the best anyway. In lateral line down, they run, you know, pretty much across here. A lot of times I'll stop a little bit short here, and I'll stop a little bit short here. I'll do the main part of the body, and then later on I'll come back. I might have to spread a little bit or gain a little bit underneath the bottom of the fish where it's kind of noticeable, so you can kind of get that zipper effect to kind of come together without a big, whoops, I'm out of alignment. Yeah. So that's kind of, you know, a good place to hide any of your seams. But for some reason I seem to have the best success on the bottom. It's a shame that doesn't show. So that's kind of how I kind of, you know, get my pattern to wrap all the way around the fish. And then, like I say, put maybe 2 or 3 different reference points, because you get about a third onto it. So you come across at thirds, and thirds, and thirds. So everything starts adding up all of a sudden. So it's kind of like building a pyramid. It just goes in there. So kind of rule of thirds seems to work about the best. So between the, you know, doing it in threes, then kind of twisting with the shape of the body, and then, you know, trying to stitch it together as you come across that lateral line. That's kind of what you're trying to aim for. And then progressively smaller on the cheek plate. You know, like I say, there's 2 or 3 different size tips. And it's hard to start at the front of the fish and work your way back. I typically start, you know, right up the top of the, I don't know if they call it the bridge or the bridle, right on top of the fish's head here where it kind of comes together. Over the top right here, it seems like the large scales start about this point. And I'll start with the upper bands of scales up here to a point where I get maybe to right about here, and then I'll take my first line down so I get something that I can kind of, you know, keep myself in rhythm with. So, I guess, burn a couple scales quickly and just show you how fast it works some days.
Are the scales on the lateral line the same size as the other scales?
They get progressively smaller towards the end.
Towards the
So
end.
I guess, Vern, I keep them pretty much just about full size up to about this point here. Then after that, I kind of come back and I kind of, you know, start tightening them up a little bit and then switch to a smaller scale. And the heat setting on your tool, I guess, depends how fast you go. If you go fast, obviously you need to buff them down, but when you buff them, you should hit the switch too, right? There we go. So to take that char out of there, just kind of take that wheel and just kind of buff it out of there. I try to go in grain with the scales. Because if you go cross grain, there's just enough resistance here and grip that will take some of the edge off that scale. So that's, we'll buff it up a little bit to get ready for your finish. Kind of get some of the excess churn off there. So it looks like a roll of sweet corn all of a sudden. Okay, so once you got the scales on, you're saying to yourself, geez, I'm ready to paint that thing. So there's a painting schedule there that, right around guys, I guess, take for what it's worth. It's kind of, the combination I came up with that works well with me. I think everybody that paints comes up with a little different process. One color covers better than another, but what I find works pretty good is that painter's touch white Rust-Oleum, because when you burn these scales, you get such a heavy, dark mark here. If you go on there, it takes quite a while to get that covered up. If you use a super high white or those taxidermy paints, it just takes, so darn many coats. That Rust-Oleum painter's touch white primer, one shot, woof, it's covered. Nice stuff. But then once I have that primer there, it's kind of a heavy pigment primer. So then again, once that primer's on there, I'll go across one more time with this buffing will kind of get that a little bit smoother.
What is it? Rust-Oleum white?
Painter's touch, just white primer, and that stuff really, covers up in one coat real nice. And then with the airbrush, I guess basically I just block in the body colors and go from memory here. I think my first coat after it's white, I come back in with pearl white. Okay, again, I kind of use the lateral line for a then after that portion there, then I'll go back and I'll the top row of scales here, believe it or not, they involve the tip with gold. The gold helps to have some of those other colors seem to pop through a little bit. So I'll come around along with the paintbrush and, I'll just basically hand paint every scale, just, kind of stroke the edges just to kind of highlight those edges. And basically, so I'm going to do gold all the way back, feather out to about the top edge.
Gold metallic or gold oxide?
Rich gold. Rich gold from Joe Sonia seemed to work pretty well. So after I got that on there, then I guess my recipe there is kind of jumps around a little bit. But once you got that on there, then I'll come back with medium bass green. And again, going from the top down, you want it to kind of fade into the belly. So top down with the green, and then also on the main part of the body, I use a little bit of yellow just to kind of cover that white just a little bit. Most fish seem to have a little bit whiter belly than anywhere else. There's, that's so when they're, what's the old theory, when they're in the water swimming, any fish looking up, all they see is the sunlight, they don't see the fish's belly. So it's kind of always white on the bottom. But as you follow some of the other colors here, you get some of these rays to stand out with your airbrush, and again, you're kind of blowing across the grain, so the darker color just kind of grabs on the spinier point of the fins. So you got to do a little twisting and turning these things so that you try to get your color to catch just on the spiny rays. So that's kind of how I achieve that. Then as far as the scales tipping, I use Liquidix. They got a nice iridescent colors, white, orange, a little bit violet, green. And brought along those pictures just to kind of show there's so much variation on sunfish. I don't know if anybody can say you're ever right or wrong. Every sunfish is a little bit different. You go catch one out in the daylight, you just roll that thing in the sunshine, you're going to see purples and violets and reds and greens and everything there. So it's kind of, painter's choice almost. But a lot of times you'll see a little pinkish in the sides, some peachy color, so you can kind of jazz it up to what you want, I guess. But I like to use the iridescent green on the gills here, along with some violet and some blue. If you look at a lot of sunfish, you'll see some blue in the belly here. If this one shows in the light here or not, but it just depends how you roll it in the light a little bit. So you can be, as creative as you want. So a lot of these scales, they probably all have been tipped probably, minimum 5 to 6 times, sometimes more. And then to create the bars, the stippling of the bars, I think I get the formula in there. I think it's medium bass green and 50% burnt umber. And it seems to be just enough to darken up that green. And I'll just kind of back up a step. I don't think I put it in the directions. Before you put the bars on, if you're satisfied with the backbone of your fish, you might want to lock it down with sealer. Because if you don't like your bar pattern, you can wipe them off and start over. So every once in a while you want to lock down so you don't have to back up, start from scratch. Trust me, it's happened. But one thing with lacquer and acrylics, when you do go to seal your fish and build up that kind of a wet look I like to see in a fish, the first coat, I mean, really do it light, don't go heavy, because that lacquer just eats away at that acrylics. So just a light mist, it's hard to resist. You want to hose on there, get that wet look, but if you get it under too thick, it just starts to dissolve some of that paint. So lots of little dry coats. But anyway, back to that stippling. So once you stipple those bars in there, you know, kind of to the pattern that you like, some of those fish, it looks almost like a railroad track. You think sometimes you're doing way too much, but then again, you look at a picture and geez, they're really pronounced. So I guess whatever you think to your liking, I guess. So once you have those bars under, then I'll come back with the paintbrush, and with that same color, I'll just kind of come down that row of bars with the paintbrush, and it just kind of builds on there a little bit, makes them pop out a little bit more. So that's kind of how I establish the bars in there.
Do you water those iridescents down when you tip the scales?
A little bit. A little bit of water, a little bit of, you know, acrylic flow release. Just, I don't want them too runny, I don't want them to run into cracks, just enough to lay on top of the edge of that scale there.
Polytranspire, what's that?
Polytranspire, that's the brand of paint that I've been using. I think I get that from Wasco.
Wasco, what's that?
Wildlife Artist Supply Company down in Georgia.
I guess I've seen it.
So they've been around forever, I guess.
What is it about that paint that's, but I've heard other people mention that too, certain quality to it that transpire?
It's transparent, I mean, you build it up in layers, it gets bolder and
Oh,
bolder.
okay.
And, you know, Scott Clinton uses it quite a bit, but he uses it in lacquers. Sometimes a combination of this color and this color, they'll bleed together and you'll get a third color completely. So he's pretty artistic with his stuff, but, you know, I just use the water base. A little bit easier on the tools and on the lungs. So I guess the eye wall, I guess I talked about the eye a little bit last week. Right now I got the covers on the eye. You know when you buy your eyes, you always come with a little plastic or hardware cover with the plastic over the top. I try to cut them off there a little bit nice and neat, so I guess steer kind of carefully. Don't, you know, whip it up like Jello because you get a lot of air bubbles in there. You want it as clear as possible. So just, you know, about halfway through at set time before it gets too sticky, I take a little toothpick and I'll drizzle that around the eye a little bit just to kind of help fill that sharpness there. And, you know, when you do that, about that time, it's just about set. It's a little rigid, so it won't flow out. Just take a can of lacquer, one little pop, and it just relaxes that epoxy so you get a kind of a nice, smooth transition.
Clear lacquer you use then?
Yeah. Other than that, you're on your own. I'm tapped out. That's it. See if the cooking's done in this one. Just to pack it in the harder than it should have. Probably had a J hook in there. Anyway, that's the theory, guys. But, you know, last night out in the shop, it worked like a piece of cake, trust me. So anyway, this is what'll happen. I mean, I must have a little burr on the backside, or, you know, but if you don't have a burr on your product, it'll back its way right out of there. So basically, you can see that hard shine there. It just, epoxy just does not stick to that baggie. Okay.
That will pull out even if you left it dry very hard over